Good afternoon, everyone. We want to, first of all, thank you all for coming out. My name is Sean Huff. I am the California Partnerships Manager with Californians for Safety and Justice. I also have the privilege of being the assistant pastor here at Crossroads United Methodist Church, where behind us you see men and women living with old records, survivors of crime, stepping up, coming out to the polls to make sure that their voices are heard. We know how extremely important that is. For so long, men and women living with old records, for so long, survivors across the state have not had their voices heard. For so long, people were disenfranchised if you were living with an old record. And so laws were made about us often that did not include us. So we're excited to be here today to be able to be a part of a statewide partnership saying your voice, whether you are men and women living with old record, if you are a survivor of crime, your voice matters. Your voice is essential to the work that we're doing to bring public safety to our communities. Many times, public safety is seen as solely the responsibility of our police department, of our fire department, of our medical system. But we know public safety goes beyond that. And we know that there's no way to have public safety without including the public, everyone in the community. Everyone's voices matter. How do we not look at the absence of crime in our communities, but how do we ensure the well-being of men and women that is in that community? How do we ensure that the things are in place so that you're not voting with the old record, but things are in place in our community that keeps you from getting the record in the first place, that supports the development of our children in the first place? That's why we need everybody's voice at the table. That's why it's critical that men and women living with old records across the state, especially here in the county of Los Angeles, that our crime survivors are stepping up, that they're supported, know that they have a place where they can go and cast their vote, that they have a place and they have representation like we have here that's willing to hear them and support and assist in making sure we have well-being in our communities that leads to public safety. So we're excited to be a part of the California Free the Vote work. It is a statewide effort to ensure that everyone in the state has the opportunity to vote. We have partners with our LA Free the Vote. We're partnered with Crossroads United Methodist Church. We are partnered with the League of Women Voters. We are partnered with Homeboy Industries that has a similar program happening just now today. They are also a polling place. There are polling places in Oakland, polling places in San Diego, Allen Temple, Boss, Pillars of the Community down in San Diego, Starting Over Inc. in the IE. Churches and community-based organizations and faith-based organizations and our elected partners coming together to say all Californians' voices matter. All Californians should feel supported when they step up to vote. All Californians have to be at the table, whether you're someone living with the old record, whether you are an elected official or one of our crime survivors across the state. We need you at the table to ensure that our communities are safe, that we spend more on intervention work, that we spend more on making sure that our survivors have what they need, that we're spending more in our communities up front to make sure that the things are there that are essential to safety as we know it. That men and women coming home have the things that they need to transition successfully. Not thinking about how do I not go back to prison, but how do I live out the best that's in me? How do I ensure that every great thing that's inside of me, I have it in place to move forward? And so we are honored for the people that are here. And I am extremely honored to introduce our next speaker. She is the chair of the Board of Supervisors here, and she is our representative. I wouldn't want another here in this second district. Please allow me to introduce to you Supervisor Holly Mitchell.
Sean, thank you so much. And it's been a long partnership between me and Californians for Safety and Justice back when I was in the state legislature, and tried very hard every day to be a champion for the way you define justice, a justice that reflects the needs of every member of our community. Again, I'm Holly Mitchell. I'm chair of the LA County Board of Supervisors. and I proudly represent the 2nd Supervisorial District. And I want to thank the coalition behind me here, the coalition that constitutes California Free the Vote, for organizing today across the state. And special thanks to Greater Zion Church family for hosting us. Assemblymember Isaac Bryan and Mayor Emma Sharif from Compton. Assemblymember had a conflict in his schedule, couldn't make it, and unfortunately Mayor Sharif isn't feeling well. So I'm going to represent on behalf of both of them. And again, to all of you for coming out today to help us get the word out on why it is so critical that we vote this election, and frankly, every election. You already know that every single issue that impacts our lives, every issue, from the safety of our communities to access to health care, to holding our elected officials accountable, starts with an individual's vote. A choice, a decision, a right we all have the responsibility to uphold. And I have to tell you, Sean, I get a little irritated when people come to me and say, well, why should I vote this election? Does my single vote matter? I said, from my perspective, people across this country wouldn't be working so hard to keep us from the polling places if it didn't matter. And people are figuring out ways every day to complicate our ability to cast a vote. So it must be important because they wouldn't be working so hard to block me from that right. So you already know that's why you're here. And I'm telling you because, as the great actor and civil rights advocate Harry Belafonte once said, sometimes you have to preach to the choir to keep the choir singing. So I'm asking you, all of us, to not only take the responsibility to vote yourself seriously, but to take 3 people with you. Talk to them about why their vote is so critically important. We all know who we need to talk to. We know the ones who can't come to a rally in the middle of a Wednesday afternoon. Tell them why you chose to be here. Tell them why you care about voting and why this is so important for our collective future. I had the privilege of being on the Simone Sanders show on MSNBC this past Saturday. And it's a nationally syndicated show. And so she asked me if I had any concerns about the integrity of the voting system here in LA County. And I could say without a shadow of a doubt that I was beyond confident that LA County's voting system, led by Dean Logan, our registrar of voters, was safe, was reliable, and accurate. And quite frankly, we think of Election Day as a single day still, next Tuesday, November 8th, but voting has already started. Voting ends on November 8th. So we should view that as the end of the marathon. We are in the middle of the sprint right now. You can go to any vote center right now across LA County and vote. So again, the election ends next Tuesday. That's your final day to vote. So if you're like my household, we don't wait till the last minute. The day our ballots arrived in the mail, we all made our very important, very personal selections for the leaders and our selections around initiatives and measures that meet the needs of our household and our community, and we mailed our ballots in immediately. In this community, you can go to Mona Park right on 121st Street to that voting center and vote. I understand we've got a voting center right behind me. You can go there and vote. You can check online at lavote.gov. That's lavote.gov to find a voting center in your area. Again, it's happening now. There is too much at risk for all of us not to cast our ballots. There's too much at risk for people who were formerly locked up to not exercise your fundamental right. We want to make sure that we are electing people and passing initiatives that reflect the greatest good for the entire community, not just the select few. It gives me great honor to introduce another leader in the Coalition for Safety and Justice in the Long Beach community, Jose Osuna.
My name is Jose Osuna, and I serve as coordinator for the Long Beach Coalition for Safety and Justice. I also represent the 4th District under Supervisor Hahn on the Public Safety Realignment Team, and I'm the Housing Justice Manager for Brilliant Corners, a statewide permanent supportive housing organization. But more importantly, I'm a person that has experienced incarceration and a person that has lost a child to gun violence. I'm a survivor. And I'm here to say that today it is critical that we spread the message that voting needs to happen. Many of us that have experienced incarceration fought for the right to be able to vote while we're on parole. So we need to exercise that right. As a crime survivor, I want the policies that impact us, those of us that have experienced violent crimes, that have lost loved ones, to have a say in how justice is served. And one of the main ways that we can do that as a community is to exercise our right to vote. Many justice policies impact those that have experienced incarceration or are about to experience incarceration. That is another way that we can definitely impact those policies, is by exercising our right to vote. As a father and as a son, I want to exercise my right to vote because I know that the policies that get implemented through these different ballot measures are going to impact my children. I know that as a person that has experienced incarceration and serves the community that has experienced incarceration, there are many measures and policies that get voted on. And so I urge those community members that have just recently acquired the right to vote, those of us that have experienced incarceration and are on parole, to exercise that right to vote. I want to thank the community-based organizations that go into our county jail system and register people to vote and help them exercise that right to vote. Awareness is the key for me today. For a long time, I thought that because I had committed a violent crime and I was labeled as a felon, I had lost the right to vote forever. I discovered that wasn't the case. So now I take the right to vote very seriously. So once again, I urge all of those within the community that have experienced incarceration, that think that they cannot vote, please register and use that right to vote. Thank you. And it is my pleasure now. You want me to do it in español también? All right. Mi nombre es José Osuna y soy el coordinador para la Coalición de Seguridad para el Público en Long Beach. Estoy aquí como una persona que ha experienciado estar encarcelado y quiero hablar con esos que tienen esa misma experiencia, que piensan que no pueden votar. Les pido, les ruego que usen ese derecho. Por mucho tiempo yo pensé que yo no podía votar porque había estado encarcelado, pero descubrí que ese no era el caso. Ahora uso ese derecho para impactar las pólizas, la política que afecta a nuestra comunidad, especialmente a los que hemos estado encarcelados. Como el papá de un hijo que fue asesinado, también quiero usar esa voz, quiero levantar esa voz de los sobrevivientes de crímenes violentos. Podemos usar esa voz para impactar las pólizas y las políticas que afectan a los sobrevivientes de crímenes violentos. La justicia no debe de ser decidida por personas que no han sido impactadas. Las pólizas deben de ser impactadas por nosotros, los que hemos pasado por esas experiencias de estar encarcelados, de ser sobrevivientes de crímenes violentos. Por eso estoy aquí para rogarles, para pedirles que se registren para votar y usen ese derecho. Voten, infórmense, por favor. It is now my honor and my privilege to introduce the next speaker, Jessica Sario, with the Los Angeles County Office of Diversion and Reentry. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jessica Sario. I am a senior program manager for workforce, civic, and community engagement at the Office of Diversion and Reentry. And actually, as of today, within the Justice Care and Opportunities Department, brand new department in LA County. And most importantly, I'm one of the co-leads. I have the honor of co-leading the LA Free the Vote initiative. So the first thing I want to do is thank Supervisor Mitchell, because it was her office, it was District 2 that authored the motion in 2018 that created this task force and campaign. Our mission, LA Free the Vote, is to make LA County a national leader in civically engaging and registering system-impacted people to vote. We have been working for the last 4.5 years. We work with the county departments that touch this population, with the sheriff's department, with the probation department, the workforce department, et cetera, and we really work at the implementation level to integrate voter education and voter registration into county services. And we've been able to look at things like expanding in-jail voting, which is something the Registrar Recorder's Office and the Sheriff's Department is working on, moving from having in-jail voting from one of the women's facilities to now opening up to men's facilities. And hopefully we can move to LA County having that as a regular service for those in jail. We do that on the county side, and we also partner with the fantastic community-based organizations that are the heart of this work, that did this work long before there was a board motion around it, like the folks at Californians for Safety and Justice, and so many of our other partners that help get the word out and make sure that the system-impacted population is aware of their right to vote, especially since the passage of Prop 17. But generally, there has been a lot of people in this county that still don't know. So we're working on that. And we do this because we know that civic engagement is critically important to people in general, but specifically people who have been isolated through incarceration and who have been robbed of political power through the process of incarceration, which means that now, more than ever, being part of society, belonging, and having political voice and power is critical, particularly when we take into account the history of disenfranchisement of people of color who are disproportionately impacted by the criminal legal system. So we talk about there are studies showing the voting has positive impacts on people's health. I'm within the Department of Health Services, or I was until this morning. So we think about that, and we think about the fact that not just health, but it's serving racial equity, it's serving reducing recidivism. There are some studies that show that as well. But we know that what's most important is really that political voice, and that we are a better county, state, and country when every single voice matters and is counted. So thank you to everyone that has made this event possible, for the folks voting at this vote center, the people across the county, and thank you so much for Supervisor Mitchell's office for launching LA Free the Vote so that we can continue to be a partner here. And I would like to introduce Lanesha Edwards from Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice to share her perspective as well.
Let's see, here we go. Can you hear me? Cool. Good afternoon. I'm sorry, because I feel like thank you, that's better. Good afternoon, Lanesha Edwards. As a survivor of multiple crime, what's important at the heart and at the core of everything is creating safe communities, right? I am so honored as a survivor of crime to stand here today with people who have old records that have completed their sentences, right? Who we all align in the goal of creating safer communities with the focus on preventing harm and crime before it ever happens, right? I'm honored again to stand here with you all and encourage all of you to get out and vote, right? We have a whole campaign, Heal the Vote. For us survivors, it's all about taking our power back and having a voice. And what could be more healing than exercising your right to vote, right? Your vote is your voice. So make sure that you get out and vote. Now it is my honor and my pleasure to introduce the next representative, which is Dr. Adrian Zachary, Senior Pastor of Crossroads UMC Church.
Good afternoon. It is an honor to be here today to lift up the importance of people casting their votes in this election. This is the most important time in our history where your voice and your vote are equally as important. Thank you. Here at the Crossroads Church, we are thrilled and excited to serve as a mobile voting center. We're excited to serve as a hub for the community, and today as a place where members of this community and folks around the county can come and cast their vote and let their voices be heard. There's no other institution in our communities more enduring or powerful than the local church. If you are in need of one thing that we can all agree upon, it is that we all want to live in a safe and in communities where everyone's safety, protection, and voice is affirmed. Keeping and trying to achieve safety is ensuring that the resources and opportunities in our communities are received by those that are most impacted and affected. We recognize that in our communities, we are disproportionately impacted by the criminal justice system. Therefore, with that disproportionality, it becomes even more important and a graver opportunity for resources to reach those who need them the most. I have come to recognize about 7 years ago, Crossroads Church began an expungement clinic. And the purpose of the clinic was in order to allow individuals a second chance, as well as to change their records and to give them a new start. One thing that I observed and I learned through that opportunity was that negativity on your criminal record can impact employment, education, housing, and an ability to be able to provide for your family. So how do we do that on today? Family and community, in order to hold our elected officials accountable to those that put them in office. And for those who have survived crimes and those who lived with old records, everything we can do to restore opportunity for access as well as for entrance is what we all must be committed to do. We must make our voices heard, become visible to those who are affirming that there is value in all humanity. Our communities can experience the healing and hope that is needed today and in the future as much as ever before. Come out on today. Early voting is available and open to you here at the Crossroads Church in the great city of Compton, California. We look forward to you coming and availing yourself to all that is offered. God bless you and shalom.
Thank you again for coming out. As we close, we want to thank every one of our partners who are here. We also want to thank partners not mentioned, including Shields for Families, that provided the transportation for us today. And we just want to remind everyone, California has been a leader when it comes to criminal justice, incarceration, and criminal justice reform. It's extremely important that we as a state continue to lead the nation and to demonstrate what it means to truly offer re-entry and reintegration services, what it means to truly offer second chances, and what it means to have a justice system that supports public safety and not just incarceration and locking people up. Thank you.